Okay, so I'm going to remove today the bellows and duct valves on a Vacuflush system on a Fairline Phantom 43.
Not the most pleasant of jobs, but if done electrically before you have a problem, then you can have happy cruising with no worries, at least about the heads. Many videos show this on YouTube, however, they're down deep dark holes. So if you actually get the unit out, it is much easier to access the parts that you need to replace. And here is a list of those parts that I needed.
Here are the units. The one nearest has been replaced already, and the one on the far side is the one which I plan to do. The first thing to do is to remove the plastic cover. Here the cover has been removed, and there are 4 nuts holding the motor onto the bellows fitting. You want to try and get the bellows arm, so to speak, vertical so that you can get at these nuts easily. This can be done with some long handled grips and move the motor. You'll also notice the positive side for the motor supply. Just undo this, leave the negative one in, and you'll be able then to remove the entire unit. This is just showing the grips on the motor output, now vertical. Positive side of the electrics are undone. I've removed a cable tidy and just put the supply cable around the motor, ready for the main unit to be lifted out. Remove the 4 nuts holding on the motor assembly with an 8mm ratchet.
Remove the centre nut from the motor output with a 19mm socket and stop the motor shaft rotating with the long nose grips. Motor is now removed, and we now have good access to undo the input and outputs of the bellows assembly, ready for servicing. Ready now to undo the plastic nuts holding the pipes coming in and out of the bellows assembly. Be careful with grips because they are fragile. Here access from the vacuum side is hindered by the pressure switch, which can be removed quite easily, allowing good access then to the plastic nut. Stainless steel circlips are easily undone on the output side.
The next step is to remove the 4 nuts holding down the bellows housing. Ready now to disconnect and remove the pump housing, which is just the black unit. Disconnect from the vacuum tank first, and then disconnect from the outgoing pipe. Remember, of course, to turn all the seacocks off. Also a good idea to have some protection for your floors and a suitable container to put in the pump housing just in case you get any spillages. The pump housing is now removed. There's a pipe coming out of each end, and there are 2 duct valves in each pipe. These are easily put in by removing the pipes. They just unscrew, pulling out the old ones, cleaning up the pipes and screwing them back in. Also, I have marked where the top of the pump housing goes relative to the base, so that when it's reassembled it is accurate. So the pipes have been removed, cleaned, and the new duct valves inserted and the pipes tightened up. I have also taken off the bolts that hold down the top of the pump housing. Note that I've put a couple of cable tidies round the bench to hold the unit down whilst I prise off the bellows. It's important not to use a screwdriver to try and lift them out against the fitting, otherwise the fitting might get damaged. Top of the pump has been removed. You might need a screwdriver just to gently prise off the lid, and there are two O-rings which I've just moved slightly so that you can see them. The next step is to put the screwdriver or bar through the hole ready to lift off the unit. So the housing has been cleaned up and the new bellows have been assembled with the new spacers on the top with two O-rings. One goes on top of the bellows and the other one goes, which is a square O-ring, around the edge of the housing, and just prise the new bellows into the housing. Pump is reassembled. Remember to line up the marks that you made previously. Also, I've put a little bit of PTFE tape on the thread that goes into the vacuum section. This was originally sealed with some sort of sealer, but PTFE tape is less messy.
The reassembled unit is now ready for putting back into the boat, and a fairly messy and unpleasant job has been relatively easily completed.